Well, hi again, everybody, and welcome to another episode of 100 Yards of Football. This is our draft prospect show, and we want to say thank you to Logan Landers for being our producer and engineer. Our co-host and founder is Vincent Turner, and our special guest today is Trey Sims. And Vincent, getting to talk one more time about Jaxson Dart. It seems like he keeps moving up on everybody's depth chart in terms of where he's going to be selected here in the 2025 NFL Draft. I know we've spoken about him in the past. We've talked about him because of the combine. And now with his Shedeur Sanders situation, the way that it's turning out, Shedeur still could be the number 2 overall quarterback. But Jaxson Dart is definitely fine-tuning his ability with some of these other middle and lower tier teams in the first round. He's going to get picked up, and I think it's going to be a little bit earlier than what he was anticipating just a month ago.
Well, the guaranteed is this for the young man that played football in Oxford for 3 years. He will be the third quarterback drafted in the first round in this year's 2025 NFL draft. And he will keep the history of quarterbacks that's played at that school. Eagle Day, John Ford Cade, Archie Manning, and Eli Manning. He's going to bring Ole Miss to the NFL. Back to you, Harp.
Yeah, I'm going to say absolutely. And there haven't been a lot. So especially at the quarterback position, this is a very unique time and place for Ole Miss football. I think they've been able to recruit and build off that in so many different ways. In a program that it was just this far away from being in the playoff, basically one win away. If they'd beaten Florida, I think they get in. But Trey, we're going to talk about the quarterback position in and of itself. And let me throw a little monkey wrench into the mix here just for a moment. Shedeur, let's assume that Shedeur has a great pro day in the next week or two when he throws for the NFL scouts. Remember, he went to the combine, but he didn't throw. He didn't really participate at all. He was there. I think he answered some questions, but he was only there for show. There are a lot of folks that really have beaten him up because of that. Is there any chance at all that Jaxson can move up to number 2 and supplant Shedeur in terms of, hey, we've seen Jaxson Dart throw, we haven't seen Shedeur, or maybe he doesn't do well at pro days? Is there any possibility at all that Jaxson Dart can replace Shedeur as the number 2 selection this year?
I think there's always a possibility because anything can happen in the draft. We've seen a lot of crazy things happen over the years, but if I had to give a solidified answer, no, I don't think so. I think that if Shedeur doesn't go in the top 10, that everything just gets pushed down and other people just go in different directions with different positions.
Yes, sir.
Well, give us your perspective on Jaxson himself, and what does he bring to the table that interests you as a fan, as a hypothetical general manager or player personnel director for any NFL franchise?
Well, one thing I like about Jaxson, I like his size. He's 6'2", 225. Guys, decently sized hands at 9.5 inches. He's got 30-inch arms. He's also a very experienced player because he started at Ole Miss for 3 years, but he started at USC before he transferred. He transferred in 2021 after Lincoln Riley came in with Caleb Williams, but he's very experienced. Like I said, started every game in his career except for one. The one was due to injury, but he is a very productive player. Threw for over 11,000 yards in his college career. Threw for 42 touchdowns. He even was a great dual threat quarterback because he rushed for 14 career touchdowns over his career and over 1,000 yards as a rusher. So he's not just a stationary stick in the mud, as some might say, or a statue back there. He knows how to run, knows how to move. He had his great accuracy career. Threw for 65% of his completed 65% of his passes. One of the things that he may need to work on is reading the field, because after his first read, sometimes he may get a little stagnant. He decides to run maybe when someone might be open. He can get hurried when there's pressure around him. Might not make the best decisions at times, but even though he might not make the best decisions sometimes, he doesn't turn the ball over, because he only turned the ball over his career. He only threw 11 interceptions Sorry, no, sorry, 27 interceptions. He threw 11 interceptions in his first year at Ole Miss, but he threw 27 interceptions over his career and 81 touchdowns. So it's like a 3-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, which is very good as a quarterback, as you may know. So overall, Jaxson Dart, I think, is a great prospect. Doesn't really make too many mistakes, doesn't really get rattled. His experience, really, he has a strong arm. So I feel like as he is because right now he is ranked the third quarterback behind Ward and Shador. So I think overall I really like him.
Vincent, he thrives in big games. He has a quick, compact release. He gets rid of the ball in tempo. He has exceptional touch and long field accuracy. That's the thing that really sticks out. He can complete big plays, but the accuracy, I think Drew Brees is the standard to which I have. Drew would throw, he'd be 19 for 23 in the first half, and the only misses were guys that had balls that bounced literally off their fingertips. He doesn't overthrow a lot of people. I think he has room to improve there. But what sticks out for you most about Jaxson Dart in his game?
I think when he got to Ole Miss, think about this, under Lane Kiffin, Ole Miss, there was always a team in the SEC. We really didn't consider them a playoff team. But each year they improved with him under the center. And then this year, he doesn't make those 2 key interceptions against Florida in the college playoffs. Very impressive in the win over Georgia. What he's done at Ole Miss that's been very rarely since the days of Archie Manning, he's made Ole Miss relevant on a national scale as really being one of the top teams in the SEC. And one thing I like about Jaxson Dart, his leadership, and he's a high effort guy. And Ole Miss, playing under him, it seemed like that they was a team that, okay, it's not the Ole Miss of the old. This is an Ole Miss team. This is a legitimate college football playoff team. Back to you, Harp.
So it's the new Miss Ole Miss, not the old Miss Ole Miss.
Yes,
it's going to be the new Miss Ole Miss. I love that. Yeah. Here's one thing that I think might be a parallel compared to last year at this time. Trey, the Atlanta Falcons, as everyone knows, in free agency, they signed Kirk Cousins. They gave him a big contract, and then they drafted a quarterback in the first round. I'm hearing that Pittsburgh, even if they don't get Aaron Rodgers, they got to get a quarterback, but they may end up moving up to get Jaxson Dart to be the third guy taken overall, to be that guy, not maybe for this year or next year, but 2-3 years down the line. They want him to be that man. Have you heard any rumors to that effect coming out of the Steeler camp?
Yeah, I actually have, and I really don't think you might not have to even move. You might be able to get him at 21. But yeah, I've heard that even if they do still get Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson, whoever the quarterback may be, they may still draft him. But for sure, they'll probably draft him if they don't get Aaron or Russell. And as far as his starting capability, I think he could probably, with the talent that they have around them, I think he could start right away. But I'm sure that they would probably want him to sit a year.
I think the great advantage for him in him being third or maybe even fourth, going later on in the first round to a better team, and maybe he sits for a while, but I think he's going to have, one, a better franchise that he's playing for, and two, the offensive line, which has got a team that even if they're in the 500 area or a playoff team, much better than the teams that are picking 1 through 6. So I think you take advantage of that type of a situation rather than complain about it. In a way, he's sitting in the catbird seat. Is there any agreement that you might have in terms of the offensive line for Pittsburgh, the Steelers, the way they play defense? He'd be going into any quarterback would be going into a great situation if they were picked by the Steelers this year.
Yeah, I'm gonna say yes, but I think the national viewers think yes. I keep hearing they're a quarterback away, which I agree. They're a quarterback away. They have everything pretty much set up. You can fine tune certain little things here and there, but for the most part, any quarterback should thrive.
Situation I completely agree. But I think the majority of Steeler Nation would say, hey, they'd look around and I look at the Steelers this way. Every family has a Uncle Mike, the guy that has a hard time keeping his job. He may be divorced. He might drink a little bit too much. but no one else can criticize Uncle Mike. We can criticize him in the family, but nobody else can. I think the Steeler Nation is like that. Hey, we need to get a running back for Najee. We need to get another this, that, or the other in the team, but nobody else can criticize us because you've got rings that nobody else has. I think so. The inner criticism of looking around, we always pick late and we don't get the guy that we want. But this year, if you get Jaxson Dart, I think that would satisfy a lot of the Steeler fans that have been complaining over the years about not getting a really top-rated quarterback or a top-rated prospect because of where you pick in the mid to late 20s.
I agree.
Okay. All right. We're on the same page. Well, Vincent, one thing let me read real quick about Jaxson Dart. At the Combine, he stole the show. That was the first thing that came out. He did a great job. He did some work under center, which he wasn't used to doing. He was a shotgun quarterback predominantly at Ole Miss, and what quarterback in college isn't right now? But his accuracy was fantastic. He had excellent deep ball throws. He didn't complete every one of them. He's going with some receivers that he had just met a few hours before. So some guys run a little bit faster than others in terms of their 40, but he was able to make some changes knowing who was lined up against him. And the scouts absolutely loved that. He had a couple of underthrows because of that, but he showed to the 32 teams that were out there everything that you would want to see. So he just needs to be patient and wait for the draft to play itself out. Maybe not in the first hour, but certainly he's going to get some phone calls.
When I look at him and I'm thinking about the draft, I would love to go to Pittsburgh simply because look what he's going to go into. DK Metcalf, George Pickens. We forgot about the big tight end from Georgia, Donnell Washington. And of course, today, they signed Kenny Gainwell out of the University of Memphis. Who wouldn't want them offensive pieces behind him?
Man,
who wouldn't?
I thought we could get through a whole show without 5 mentions of Memphis, but we're already there. How about that? Do you agree, Trey? Final thoughts here on Jaxson Dart?
I agree with both of y'all. Like I said, I've always played there. Any quarterback should thrive, and Jaxson Dart has all the tools and he's young. He's 21, so like he has time to grow and progress. So I think I agree with both y'all.
Yeah, well, in comparison to some of the others, we believe Cam Ward could be the first overall pick. And depending on where he goes, Shedeur Sanders is ranked number 2 in the quarterback position. Jaxson Dart, who we featured here, Quinn Ewers, Jalen Milroe, Will Howard, Kyle McCord, Dylan Gabriel, even Riley Leonard out of Notre Dame, and Curtis Rourke, Tyler Show from Louisville are just some of the top prospects. But really, there's a vast gap in between the first 3 and then the next 4 through 7, 8, 9, and 10. So we would just give our opinion here. We want to talk about who the draft prospects are that might be of interest to you and certainly will be on draft day. So for Trey Sims, for Vincent Turner, for Harper LeBel, that's me, and Logan Landers, our producer and engineer, we want to say thank you for tuning in, everybody. This has been our Draft Prospect Show here on 100 Yards of Football. Have a great day, everybody.